Yes. Hi. The pile there are all the handouts that I promised that were not in your packet because they had to be fixed or they were out of date. Okay, latest. No, it still says planning and zoning. Nancy, you sure it's on?
It's on.
You sure?
I pushed all the.
Oh, now it's on. There's quite a delay before it pops up.
Okay, you guys ready?
We are on. Turn that right on.
Kurt, you all set? Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll call to order the June 10th, 7 p.m. regular, well, now special Board of Education meeting here at Town Hall in Hicks Room. Please stand as we share the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. We'll, at this time, roll call.
Jonathan Moore.
Jeanette Broder.
Nora Mukarski.
Julie Luby?
Renee Waldron.
Kurt Warner.
Shane Centrella, Tori Levetri, Allison Pierce, and Sandra Strubar are excused. Okay, item 2 of the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions or reorderings of the agenda at this time? Okay, seeing none, we move to item 3, student showcase.
Tonight's student showcase, Ms. Santa Hilaire is going to kick us off. I think we have students who are coming to tell us about our recent STEAM night that we had. These are students who helped plan it. I don't know if any of you were able to be there, but it was a phenomenal event, and probably most exciting about it was just how student-led it was. So I know the kids are going to tell you all about it, so I'll stop.
Okay. Right up here. So thank you for having us this evening. I actually had 11 sixth graders who helped participate in designing, researching, executing our amazing STEAM night. It was well attended, over 450 people. And these students are going to tell you a little bit about what they did, but I do want to brag on them. They worked with me 2 or 3 times every single day for about 6 weeks to put together the showcase. They actually picked out what the activities were going to be. They researched the science behind some of the work that we did, and they put together the materials, the directions, and they hosted many of the activity stations. So I'm going to give them a chance to tell you a little bit about what they did. Seraphim, would you start us off?
Can you guys introduce yourselves?
Hello everyone, my name is Seraphim Josephat, and I was one of the helpers at this year's Family STEAM Night. There were about 450 people there, and I helped run the lava lamp station, which was one of the most popular stations. This was difficult because not everyone followed directions, but overall I had a very fun time helping the students and learned to be more patient with others.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gabriela Perdue, and I did a lot of public speaking on STEAM Night. It helped me kind of get over the fear of speaking in public, and also learning how to address the crowd correctly and speaking up, and also just speaking off the top of my head and informing the crowd with no script.
Hi, my name is Amy Alcantara, and I helped with building the drone field and doing the lava lamps, as Seraphim said. And it was all in general just fun. There's a lot of people there too. It got a bit difficult sometimes.
Additionally, I just want to add, many of the students wish they could be here this evening, but due to the change and the softball and soccer games, I had many who had to give me their regrets. And I'm also really proud because our drone team that went to nationals last year all participated in the STEAM night, and they ran 2 drone showcases, which truly the students led. As Amy said, they designed the drone field, they ran all the skills, and even when a couple of the drones broke, that evening, and they came running to me and they said, "What are we going to do?" And I just said, "Just fly the ones we have." They weren't really satisfied with that. They went off at the intermission and they fixed the 2 drones on their own and ran it. So I'm incredibly proud of them. So, yes.
Another one of your STEAM students.
Oh, Matthias, come on up here. Thank you for coming. Matthias also was a part of our STEAM night. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Matthias Swenson. Grade 6. I forget what I was supposed to do.
Were you talking about one of the activities?
I feel like, so we did a lot of stuff there, but I feel like the favorite one in general seemed to be the lava lamps going on in the cafeteria. You could like put like oil and water and seltzer in a bottle and add like glitter and stuff, and then like it looked really cool. So, like, and like since it was in the same room as the drone show, you could also sit there and watch the drone show while making the thing. So that added bonus.
Absolutely.
And
That's great.
yeah, so.
Thank you so much. Stay right there, Matthias. All right, a round of applause.
Yeah, very good.
Super. To the 4 of you, thank you so much for the hard work that you did putting together STEAM Night, and then also for coming here to tell us about it. I think it was probably one of our favorite events of the school year, and we know that we couldn't do it without your hard work.
It's really great to see you out active, to see your families here to support you. I think that's fantastic. And the community is seeing the work in front of us, in our eyes, developing scientists and people interested in general science. I think that's fantastic. Keep it up. Keep it up.
Do you want to remind the community and the board what makes today a little bit special for the 4 of you?
Go ahead, Gabby.
Today's our last day of school.
Oh.
And you're
As sixth
officially,
graders,
and you're
right?
officially
7th graders.
middle schoolers.
All right. Moving up. Moving on up.
Thank you, guys.
I have a second group here as well.
Oh, super.
Yes, my Winchester Land Trust crew. Come on up.
Now it's
Ms. St. Hilaire, maybe you can bring him closer to the mic.
Yes. Oh, guys, this is a microphone, so speak loud and proud into that, okay? No, it's okay. I'm gonna help. We do have a couple of missing people, but it's okay. So our 4th and 5th graders were treated to a field experience going to the Winchester Land Trust hiking field, and we were so fortunate this year when the Winchester Land Trust folks contacted me and asked would we want to go, and they developed a grant which they were able to get to help us get the money to be able to go there with the buses. And in the beginning, we all weren't so sure, how is this going to go? But I have to say, it was a huge hit. We have some pictures I'm gonna pass around while our students are talking, okay? Brody's gonna lead us off.
Hi, my name is Brody Landry, and I'm here to tell you what human activities have happened in the park. For example, the stone wall. The stone wall was built by people, maybe to keep small predators away. Things to notice while in the field. Birds' nests are on the ground, and it's important to make sure you're on the trails and stay safe and have fun with your family. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Brody.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Logan Roy. I'm going to be talking to you about the importance of nature. So, as you can see in those photos that you're passing around, you can see a lot about the land. And there is many trees and birds, and there's a ginormous meadow there. And it really shows you a lot about nature and why we need to, and why it's a very important part of our life. So that is why I'm talking about the importance of nature. Oh, I don't know.
Great. You did a great job. Logan, nice job.
Hello, my name
So as they've all said, this was not only a great trip that they learned about the science and the nature, but also the history of Winstead. As many of you may be aware, in the 1955 flood, they did use the meadows as a landing field to bring food and water to the people of Winstead. So they had a great time learning all about the history and a great experience outside. And the trails were not simple trails. So I was really proud of how well they did with the hiking, as well as the adults.
Did you wear those shoes when you went?
Oh yes, I wore these shoes, that's why I was really All right.
They're very good. Really
Thank
great.
you for coming to tell
Yeah,
us
it's
about
great
it.
to be outside. Great job.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, let's see.
Okay. Thank you for the photos. It's really great to see the diversity of activities the students are getting involved in. I think that's a real well-rounded education our kids are starting to, engage in. Item 4, public comment. The Winchester Board of Education welcomes public comment from the community. There's 2 opportunities set in our agenda tonight. The moment is now, and then later, towards the end of our agenda. We welcome and encourage public participation as a valued part of communicating with our community for the input for the board. We appreciate you adhering to the following. Complete the requested information on the sign-in sheet up here. We would ask for your name, your address, and your email. State your name and address when called on to speak, and you'll be allotted 3 minutes to share your comments for the duration. Please be advised it's not the practice of the board to engage in dialogue regarding commentary. The superintendent of schools will be directed by the chairperson to prepare an appropriate response in a timely manner. We appreciate your thoughtful and commentary and your time. Does anyone wish to speak?
Hi, I'm Jen Perga from the Winchester Land Trust. I just want to tell you that the Winchester Land Trust Board was so pleased about this field trip. We've already submitted our grant for next school year. So I just want to thank Renee. She did an amazing job organizing everything on the school end, and Caroline Christensen, who's the education coordinator for the Land Trust. We had a lot of volunteers who accompanied each group of students who did a great job. And the teachers really prepared the students. They were inquisitive and they had a lot of background knowledge when they got to the property. I accompanied one of the groups and I was just so impressed. Their joy was infectious. They had so much fun. And I just want to thank the Northwest Community Bank Foundation because they paid for the buses. All the students got a snack at the end of the hike. And then they also got a map to bring home so that hopefully they can go back to the Land Trust property and show their parents where they went. So thank you. And I'll just leave one for each of you.
Don't forget to sign in.
Okay.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak?
If I can echo that comment, I want to say when the kids and teachers got back to school, they were equally or more so complimentary of your team, saying just how many volunteers there were and how helpful everyone was and knowledgeable, and what a great partnership it was. So we're very grateful to you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, seeing none. Item 5, approval of the minutes. We received a copy of the completed minutes for May 13th, the regular Board of Education meeting. Is there a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept May 13th, 2025 minutes of the Board of Ed meeting.
Thank you, Renee. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jeanette. All right, all in favor? That's 5-0. Lenise, all set? Item B, minutes of the special meeting, May 19th, 2025. I'll take a motion to accept that. Thank you, Jonathan. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Renee?
Thank you, Renee. All in favor? 5-0. Okay. Item C, minutes of the ad hoc negotiating committee meeting, May 19th. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Thank you, Jonathan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kurt. All in favor? 5-0. Item D, the minutes of the curriculum committee meeting, May 27th. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Jonathan. Second?
Renee?
Thank you, Renee. All in favor? 5 to, okay.
And I'm abstaining.
You're abstaining,
'cause I was
okay.
absent.
4-0-1. Lenise, we're a 4-0-1 on item D.
Actually, on item C, can you just do 401 again, because I wasn't at the ad hoc negotiating committee meeting?
Okay, so let's remotion then on the 19th.
Sorry about that.
Okay. All right, so let's make sure we're okay with the D. Minutes of the curriculum committee, May 27th. Jonathan first, Renee second, 4-0-1. Okay. All right, back to the minutes of the ad hoc negotiation meeting on C. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes? We had Jonathan? Kurt? Okay. All in favor? That's 4. Opposed, 0. Abstain, 1. Okay, 4-0-1 on C. Okay, item E, minutes of the special board meeting, May 27th. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for the meeting, special board meeting, May 27th.
Thank you, Renee.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jonathan. All in favor? 4. Abstain is 1. Okay, 4-0-1. Okay, on item E. All right, thank you, everyone. Okay, at this point, we move on to item 6, communications, a chairperson comment. I would just like to say wow. I'd really like to say wow to the community, to the persons that went out to vote for the budget. That was a nail biter. And I think perhaps people heard that, you know, the homework assignment was to go out and be a voter, and I think that's fantastic. More importantly, we're also seeing, on behalf of the board, more and more students come out and be a part of the public speaking piece, to be a part of the presentations. And that's the future, that's our generation that's coming up. And I think participation, knowing where this room is, knowing where this building is, knowing what an agenda is and how we go through things is half the battle. Participation, of course, and running for office someday is the other half of the battle. We'd love to see that. I just want to express, on behalf of the board, a heartfelt thanks to the faculty, to the administration, to the staff, and to the parents, and to the kids, because we are here for the kids. And I know we're all exhausted at this time. This was the last day of school today for the kids. And I know we've had a whole myriad of different events during the course of the year, and we're tired, I just want to express the need for everyone to take the break necessary so you get that time off to do those things that you need to do to get re-energized, because you got to bring that battery back up. I was reminded today, without the weekend per se, school starts in about 51 days, okay? I know. So, sorry, buzzkill, exactly. But I do want to say how important it is to turn it off and relax and get those batteries re-energized to do the thing you need to do so that way you're ready. I'm sorry.
That was awesome.
But that's how important time is, because I know people in the community are so focused during the course of the year, there really isn't any much downtime. So that's something that everybody needs to find, is their off switch. And that's very important for us as a community, to be able to be re-energized to come back. But that's really one of the key pieces that I'd like to say tonight for the comments, and it's wonderful to see us moving forward to be the best district in the state of Connecticut that we can be. Okay, appreciate that. Item B, student reps.
So tonight we have Luna Johnson representing Hinsdale School. And I have to say to all of the students participating here tonight, extra super credit for coming out when technically school's already over. But we're really excited to hear about what's been going on at Hinsdale School lately. So Luna, take it away.
Hello, my name is Luna Johnson. I'm in second grade. I'm going to tell you about what has been happening at Hinsdale School lately. recently school events are grade 2 visited Pearson to learn about 3rd grade. We took a tour to meet the 3rd grade teachers, and current 3rd grade played on the playground and enjoyed a special snack. We had our art and music showcase in mid-May. There were 82 guests, Fiona in 2nd grade and Mason in pre-K. We're the winners of the scavenger hunt basket. On May 19th, we held STEAM night at Pearson School, and on May 21st, we had our pre-K kindergarten 2 music concert, also at Pearson School. I'm going to share something new that students in each grade have been learning. In reading, in science, preschool students are learning about animals, habitats, and living things in our world. Students have planted seeds and tracked their growth. In math, they are working on simple addition and subtraction using the themes like ladybugs, butterflies, and flowers. This month, kindergarteners put on a play for 3 little pigs to show all they've been learning. They learn to read simple words and tricky words, which help them read their scripts. They also learn to read different punctuations to know who was talking and how they were talking. They also use what they learned in knowledge to build the sets. If in 1st grade they are reading and answering questions in complete sentences and about stories during knowledge. They are learning about frontier explorers like Daniel Brody, Boone, and Lewis and Carl, and Lewis and Clark. In math, 1st graders are working on addition, 2-digit numbers, and telling times to the nearest hours of half hour. In science, they are exploring how plants and animals adapt to survive. In 2nd grade, we are learning about the human body and knowledge and skills. We are reading and writing about the national anthem. In math, we are working on measurements and triple-digit addition. In science, we have planted seeds and we're taking care of plants. One thing I'd like to see happen at Hinsdale is that everyone is kind and helpful to each other. One thing I really like about school is that I am able to make friends and learn. Thank you for inviting me.
That was fabulous, Luna. Thank you.
Lots of things happening in Hinsdale. That's great.
So polite. And from Pearson School, Logan and Dakota Roy.
All right.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Are you guys gonna take turns?
We'll take a turn. Yeah, hello, my name is Logan Roy.
And I am Dakota.
I'm in grade 4. We are twins in fourth grade. I'm going to tell you about what has been happening at Pearson School lately. School activities and events. Describe one or two. Oh. The first one, we went to field day, which was a lot of fun. We had a family barbecue, and we had an award ceremony for our hard work. We had this is what we've been doing in our school so far.
In 3rd grade ELA, they were doing ecology.
Ecology?
In math, in 3rd grade, they've been doing distributive fractions, in ecology.
In 4th grade ELA, we were doing the Revolutionary War, Patriots versus Loyalists, and writing option for debate.
In math, we've been reviewing for multiplication, thinking classrooms, and division and maths strategies.
In 5th grade ALA, they learned about the Reformation and why Martin Luther created the 95 Theses.
In 5th grade math, they are doing decimal multiplication. Oh gosh.
School improvements or needs. My class discussed some ways to improve the school day. Brain breaks in between subjects, more group work like building, thinking classrooms. You can figure out the problem with the help of other people's brains and transfer knowledge. It is a great way to learn. It makes learning more fun, and it is easier to get through the work. We can get it done a little faster working together.
One great thing, I like that we have some activity choices at the end of the day during WIN. Teachers and students are really nice. Thank you for
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us. We gotta say thank you for inviting us. Wait, I just said not inviting. Thank you for inviting us.
Well done.
Logan and Dakota, that was fabulous. Thank you.
Great job.
Now you guys can have summer.
That's
Now
right.
it's officially summer.
The Reformation, Revolutionary War, this is fantastic. Great.
You've been waiting for this,
I
haven't
know,
you?
I've been waiting for a while. This is great. It's fantastic to hear. Okay, thank you, everyone. Item C, Superintendent's Report.
Okay, I'm never as exciting and interesting as the kids. It's a tough act to follow. I'm gonna have to rebuild the agenda next year so that I'm not right after that. I'll just highlight a few things because you have my written report as part of the packet, and the kids shared so much of what I would tell you about, but I will just say we've had so many amazing events at the school where we were able to showcase the talent and hard work of the kids, and it's such a reflection of the care and dedication and professionalism of the staff. The STEAM night, the concerts, the art and music showcases, the being in the parade are all just opportunities for kids to shine, and through them for us to recognize all that the staff is putting into it. We ended the year, as we always do, with lots of assessments to help us look at the progress that kids have made. There are summer reading opportunities that went home with the children, and we'll make sure are on our website in case they didn't make it home. We're participating both in the local library summer reading program as well as the Governor's Reading Challenge. And we did end the year with celebrations and award ceremonies at every grade level, and of course today our promotion ceremony for our 6th graders. Operationally, tonight actually I can update since I wrote this, we are no longer negotiating with nurses. We have a contract here tonight to tell you about and hopefully approve. And custodians and secretaries are ongoing. The CHAMPS grant, which was late in being dropped from the state, it's a 2-year grant, and we were starting to get nervous, but the grant window opened. We, with the help of Teresa Payton before she left, put it together. We hit submit, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, but we anticipate being able to continue to receive the CHAMPS grant and continue that great programming. I met recently with Chief Susi, and he is taking the lead on putting back in place the town-wide safety committee, which we obviously will be active participants in and glad that we're doing. The voting while school was in session went very smoothly. I think the registrars felt everything worked well. I don't think it was at all disruptive to the school day. So note to the file, when it happens that way, we're fine. We can make that work. In the board packet, and again, if it's not already on our website, it will be information. There are meals available throughout the summer. They're federally funded. It isn't Winston tax dollars, but we get our staff together and get it put together and provide meals throughout the summer. So information went home to families. It'll be repeated on our website, but for people who need to grab that, it's available. Briefly, because we had 2 openings at the same moment of 2 roles that had some blended responsibilities, I did a little restructuring. Our footprint didn't get any bigger. It was 2 people. It remains 2 people. The dollars remain the same, but my assistant and human resources roles were really blended across 2 people, so we did like that, and now we have a specifically dedicated HR person and a person whose role it is to support the superintendent and all the people around. We don't have an assistant in the business office, so things like when we're working on negotiating a contract, there's no support for that work. So Tiffany, who's here tonight, is my assistant and will be supporting all of us in the central office, and she's already doing a great job. Okay, so what else do I want to point out to you?
Oh, while you're looking, just,
Yep.
does anybody have any questions on the operations? I just want to double check. The CHAMP grant, is that the same amount as, or does the ask increase because of, say, inflation or anything like this, or?
No, so I don't think there was more available. They actually made it a little trickier. We're gonna ask just a little bit less, still able to do all the great things we do, but they condition it upon, there's some very significant formulas. Tiffany, you'll tell me if I get it wrong, but they talk about you must have a certain % of your students attend a certain amount of the time, and because we allow people to do less than a full-time participation, we're applying for what we know we can hit based on our historical attendance data rather than plan a budget and then
Okay.
not be able to hit our marks, so.
Yep.
But the funding will be adequate to run the after-school program that I'll say is sort of like the daycare more so component of it, as well as the choice activities that we run.
Okay.
Let's see. I met Superintendent Susi briefly. He's starting in late July. It was really nice to meet him. Quick reminder to the board, if you haven't already responded to the survey to pick a date for our summer retreat, please do. And so if you haven't heard about this, I'll send the board a link. And the Northwest Connecticut Housing and Innovation Center is this fascinating thing going on. The building next to Explorations, it's the old hospital building. Am I right about that? It's is becoming all kinds of really neat things. There's veterans housing going in, there's a makerspace going in. Renee and I went up and met with them, and they are lifting up like STEAM in the community, science, technology, engineering, and they've set up a professional learning opportunity that's going to be held at Whiting Mills, I think, was it? And so we've sent that out to see if any of our staff want to participate, but it's just going to be a really neat connection for us. I can't say a lot more because I don't entirely have it yet, but their website has great information, and it's going to be another great partnership for us. And yeah.
Just so I understand, Tiffany, would she be handling the policy, the housing of the policy,
Yes.
the updating of the policy? Okay, so that'd be Tiffany. And then the minutes of the meetings being posted?
Yep.
That would be through you. So as we draft minutes, we would CC you on those minutes. Okay, great. Just so the community knows, annually we do a summer retreat as a Board of Ed, where we come together for about 5 hours, where we talk about district goals as a community. We put our heads together, and that drives instruction, assessment, learning, everything that we do in the buildings across the district, and so we're settling on a date that we do that, just so you're familiar. How many people showed for the end of the year barbecue?
Oh, well over 500? Over
Closer to
600.
Okay, that's fantastic to see that. That's really great stuff. Okay. Any other questions for Julie on the roof piece? Where are we on the roof? Can you give us a little bit more there?
Sure. So Paul and I have met a few times with the company that one of the Board of Selectmen members had recommended, and got some information about their best thinking about what we would need to do. We're also talking to solar companies. In the midst of that, I did reach out to DAS, which is the State Department's branch for school construction, and got some confusing information saying that we had done a roof in 2009, I think it was, which is not the information that we have. That would mean we have a roof that's only 16 years old, which means they would not be interested in supporting a new roof, but it also means we should have a warranty on a roof if we had a roof that was only 16 years old. So we are working with the town finance office, our own finance office. Not many of us in district worked here back then, so we're struggling a little for like human memory.
Right.
But we are trying to figure out why the state thinks we did a project in 2009 and we think we did it in 1999. So we're unpacking that to make sure that we would be eligible for reimbursement or that we would be eligible under a warranty, because one of those two should be true.
Would a warranty, if, let's just say there was documentation that there was a roof, would a warranty provide us a whole new roof, or to fix the holes or the leaks that we've got?
I think
Or
we'd
is that
have
to
to
be
cross that
determined?
bridge once we figure out
Okay.
when it was actually done, what the terms of the warranty were, if we've done anything to void it by having other people work on it.
Okay,
If in fact the state's information is correct.
yeah.
We're a little confused at the moment, but we're determined to untangle it.
Okay,
So we're sort of continuing to figure out what we need to do and what our best course will be to do it, while we're also trying to figure out when last we did it.
okay. All right, very good, thank you. Okay. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the superintendent? Superintendent Luby? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to item D, committee reports. Finance Committee did not meet this last time. You might remember we were in the Pearson Library the same day as the referendum, which did pass. And once again, I'd like to express a thank you to the community, to persons to support us here moving forward in our budgetary endeavors. It takes a village. We're all rowing in the same direction, and it's really great to see. So we can move ahead and conduct the business of educating our kids, because we're in the business of kids. Item 2, Curriculum Committee. Renee?
Yeah, we talked about recess, and that was pretty much it. Still a topic that we're going to discuss at the next curriculum committee, so looking at time outside for kids and so forth.
Okay. Policy. We do have some policies on the agenda today that we'll be looking towards a vote for implementation, okay? I look forward to working with you, Tiffany, on policy, because, you know, we want to be up to date. Obviously, it's one of the roles of the board is to make sure our policies are golden and posted and clear and up to date. So I appreciate that. So we'll see those policies in a little while. And then finally, 4, the negotiating committee. Kurt?
Yeah, we met on Monday. We looked at past contracts to kind of guide us towards what we want, and we talked about non-negotiables for us. And I think we have a path of where we want to be, or what we want to see the contract to look like before we present it and meet with Gilbert.
Do you have another next meeting?
We haven't determined the next meeting yet.
Okay. To be determined. Okay, great. And then finally, E, liaison reports, Gilbert School Corp.
So at the last meeting, we made a motion and passed it to create a negotiating committee to develop contract with WPS for basically the Gilbert version of the committee we created. And we assigned members.
Do you have those names, or?
I don't have a list on me. I believe Renata is on it and some.
Me? Oh, I'm not on that committee.
Oh, you're not.
No, no.
Holly Cassidy would be the chair, Teresa Payton, Ellen Marino, and Tara Sunday.
That's okay.
Okay. Thank you,
Oh,
Jonathan.
and what else? We voted on that contract to fix they're gonna be working on the gym.
Gym renovations have
Gym
already
renovation.
begun also.
Yep.
Posted on their Facebook.
They also graduated the class of 2025?
Correct.
Yeah, and the students came in and they did an award ceremony too for students there, so that was great to be a part of, and yeah, all good stuff going on there.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Item F, correspondence to the board. Does anybody have any correspondence they'd like to share? Okay, seeing none. Item 7, information items, enrollment. Okay.
Steve or Lynn? So we have one student who's just arriving who had hoped to participate,
Oh,
talking about the land trust.
Okay.
So how about I'll keep going for now, because I think she needed to just maybe clean up some softball, it looked like, if I were a betting man.
Okay.
But whenever she comes back, if you don't mind, we'll
Sure.
pause and go backwards.
We'll take a little bit of a recess during that
Always for the
time.
kids, right?
Okay, very good.
Yes, I will happily cede my time to her. Enrollment reports, we are ending the year, where are we? With 12 more students in the pre-K 6 program than we started the year, and 4 less at Gilbert than we started the year. And that's a wrap on that. I'll flip right to the attendance report. I'll just point out to you that I've made a couple of changes to this report by adding some information for you. And before next year, I'll think about formatting if there's any way I can make it easier to read. But each month when we look at the average daily student attendance in the top table, you'll see the top 3 lines of the current year, district, and then each school. I've added for you the previous year so that you can see along the way just how it's tracking by comparison.
Right.
I know we often wonder about that, so that's a way to get a little bit of a baseline to look at it. In the second table, for chronic absenteeism, I added 2 things. Down the bottom, you'll see again, I added the district data from the previous year. I'm not breaking it out by school because there's just too much information. I don't think that the schools are significantly different. It was my thought that you could compare district to district and with only 2 schools. The other piece I added, though, is the days in the month, which is really important because chronic absenteeism, the end of year information is based on all the months combined, but the individual months are just that month. So for example, in February, when there's only 17 days, anyone who missed, let me think about that, if you missed 1 day, would that be greater than 10%? No, 10% of 17 would be 1.7, so no, but if you miss 2 days of school, you're chronically absent. So in a month with 21 days, it takes 3 days to be chronically absent, but when it's less than 20 days, it's 2 days. So I share that there just because, for example, like December with 14 days and February with 17 days, these numbers are really hard to look at and say, wow, we had in February 50% of our Hinsdale students were chronically absent, we have to remember that means that half the kids missed 2 days of school. Not that I want anyone to miss 2 days of school, but it doesn't necessarily mean that those kiddos miss 2 days every month. It means they missed 2 days that month. And in fact, just it comes to mind as I say that, we have the week where we have off the Monday, Tuesday. And I think an interesting thing to look at this summer would be, do we have lots of kids who take the rest of that week and go somewhere? Maybe we don't, but it gives us something to look at in the months that are worse. It's also when kids are sick. So that's there just to lend a little context to the information. We are committed to doing some work this summer on figuring out how to improve attendance. We think there's a lot of ways to do that. Some of it is the reactive and working with our social workers. We're looking at creating a DCF outpost office in the building, which for them is really just an office and a partnership. But having that person will be an extra social worker who can participate on our attendance committee and maybe bring some new ideas. The state also recently sent a bunch of resources that we're going to work with. And what was the other thing I was going to say to you?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
Are we
You're good.
doing home visits? Don't we have we adopted a policy, procedure, protocol for, we're still doing those, I'd imagine, without getting into discovery of information. Have you seen a return on investment for home visits? Like, is there a benefit to that? Is it working? Okay.
It's very individualized.
Yeah, yeah, okay,
Every situation is
yeah.
I think some of what we hope to do is the proactive piece.
Right.
Looking at, really reading some of the research on what are some of the things that increase attendance. Is it maybe home visits before school starts, proactively for, anyone who was chronically absent the year before, or also looking at it from the standpoint of what are we doing to entice kids to come to school, if you will, like, do we have some cool stuff going on that, nobody just wants to miss? When you have a beach theme and everybody's wearing whatever crazy hat day or whatever those things are, but are we, adding just a little extra spice to make sure that kids, well, I can't stay home today because it's such and such day. And so we're gonna try and think about it both from a learning standpoint as well as the reactive, what do we do for kids who are not coming, and really understanding the why behind it.
Yeah.
So know that we're not satisfied with that data, and we're definitely gonna,
Good, neither am I.
yeah, not a good
I
look.
have a colleague who's fond of saying, I can't teach an empty seat.
That's 100% true.
Okay.
As I launch into the personnel report, I just want to give a shout out for Lisa Brochu, who is our PE teacher at Hinsdale. Tomorrow, I guess technically, will be her last day before retirement. We celebrated her yesterday at the district end-of-year celebration. Her grin is a mile wide. She is retiring to take care of 2 beautiful, brand-new baby grandchildren. And she couldn't be more excited. She's had a long career with us. She's wonderful. We're sad to see her go for us, but we're thrilled for her because she is joy-filled at what's ahead for her.
Congratulations, Lisa, if you're listening.
And
Well
she
earned.
would have been here on Tuesday, I apologize. And I mentioned about, so Mary Stempian is the second part of that story I told you, HR and executive assistant untangled with Teresa and Darlene's position. So Mary is our HR person. She's been on board for a couple of weeks. She is figuring it out as quickly as she can. She's not experienced in education, but she is very experienced in HR. And so she will bring a wealth of knowledge about all things ADA and workers' compensation, and she's gonna be fabulous.
Okay.
And obviously the current vacancies is long because we stopped filling things that could wait as it got towards the end of the year.
Okay.
The budget.
Okay.
Okay.
Item D.
Item D.
Yep.
Oh, you're back.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I keep looking at your empty chair and thinking you're not back. So we're gonna pause and take it away, Renee. Tell us who we've got.
All right, well, come on up here. Thank you for letting her speak. I have to say,
Of course.
Cora left her game in the middle of the game because this is how important this was to her. So
Right.
Cora is one of the students who are representing our Winchester Land Trust hike, and she is going to introduce herself and tell you what she's here to talk about. Nice and loud, Cora.
Hello, I am Cora Smith, and I will be talking about the connection to our curriculum that the Winchester Land Trust hike had on us. The connection to our curriculum happened with the 5th grade unit of the Roadkill unit, aka the Food Webs unit, which was mostly all about the food webs and how other animals eat other animals. The hike helped us look at different food webs and different parts of land that had animals eating other animals, like I saw a chipmunk eating a nut that came from a tree, which is technically considered an animal.
Really? Wow, I learned something tonight.
That's fantastic.
Cora, what was your favorite part of the trip?
My favorite part of the trip was definitely walking around and finding all the different parts of nature and all the different animals.
That's fantastic. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming here.
Thank
From
you,
your
Cora.
game on the last day of school.
Very cool.
Awesome. Good work.
The food kill unit. Did you say roadkill?
Wait,
She
did
said
say-
roadkill.
She did say roadkill, right?
Yeah, they do it for
It is a roadkill unit. Oh my God. Wow.
In all my years, I've never heard that
No.
term as such. That's fabulous. Okay, so flying right along. Monthly budget summary. I think what I'm gonna do is just highlight a few quick points for you. I won't belabor it. So on page 13, the snapshot, I'll just remind you that we were very fortunate that we've learned, I don't think we've already received probably, but will receive $117,000, give or take, extra in our excess cost grant, which is the special education reimbursement that we get from the state of Connecticut. I would love to tell you that that puts us ahead of the game, but what it does is minimize how much behind the game we are, if you will. But it further defrays the cost of special education. And we have no news yet on whether we've been successful in recouping the $40,000 high-dose tutoring that was shut down early.
Right.
The other thing I'll say to you that we're watching very closely is that the Title II grant, which is the only funding that we have for professional learning, we don't carry it in our budget. I guess technically there's a line there, but it's a big fat zero. All of our professional learning for staff, much of which is contractual and all of which is really important, lives in our Title II grant, and in much of what I've been reading in Ed Week and other publications is saying that Title II is potentially on the cutting block.
From the Fed.
From the federal government. Title II is a 2-year grant, and so we have, we'll be finishing out last year's grant by the end of this year. We already have, if you will, this year's grant that we'll be using in the coming year.
Okay.
So we'll wait to see if in the fall they issue it again, but if not, we limp through the current year with the grant that we're living in now. But we would have to build into our own budget in the fall if they don't open that grant to us in the fall.
Is the state of Connecticut doing anything to help us out in case there were, like Plan B, to float us?
That would be lovely.
Okay.
You know, at this point, it hasn't happened, so I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they're probably not making contingency plans yet. If it does happen, obviously, towns will be wishing for that, but it's not in anybody's budget because it hasn't happened. But, and I do think in a lot of districts, they have money in their own budget for professional learning and then it's supplemented by Title II. So it might hurt a little less than us where we have literally zero without it.
Right.
So this is when we're waiting and watching, and by next year's budget cycle, we'll presumably know if they didn't open it in the fall, then we'll have to build something in.
So no news from the commissioner, or any sort of statement made, or any,
Only that they're watching it.
okay.
It was mentioned on the superintendent call.
What's our exposure about? How much?
The
I
grant
haven't
total, I think, is about 35,000, of which we spend 20,000 and Gilbert gets 14,000, 15,000, I'm rounding, but
Okay.
loosely, it's 20,000, which is our entire professional learning budget.
Yeah.
Gilbert uses theirs, I actually don't know, I was gonna say Newsella, but that can't be right, that must be Title IV.
I'm sorry?
Gilbert uses Title IV probably for Newsella.
Yes.
What do they do with Title II?
The 14,000.
Is that they do a professional development as well. Predominantly professional development, Title II.
So for us, it would be all of the workshops and again, in the teacher's contract, we're supposed to be providing for, and obviously we need to do professional development each year. In fact, for example, in the climate legislation, it says we're responsible every year to provide professional learning in restorative practices and SEL. Obviously, not everything has a price tag, but much of it does, so.
On the PD and the teacher's contract, is there a dollar amount, or is it just, I don't remember seeing
Yeah.
it?
There's like up to a certain amount per person. The reality is we provide things for all staff together, so everyone is getting things.
Right.
And we are trying to have a more unified approach to professional learning as well,
Sure.
so that we're sort of all rowing in the same direction.
Okay.
So we're not panicked yet,
Yep.
because we have money for the coming year, but we are watching closely.
Okay.
I'll take you to page 14 just for 2 quick seconds. I'll point out in the column titled Balance, I'm still each month when I sit and torture poor Nancy, trying to figure out where I look to really know how we're doing. So if you want to join me at the balance column, that sort of shows you where we are compared to what we put into the budget and plan to do.
Page 14, sorry.
Page 14, balance
Okay.
column. So, you know, certain things balance each other out a little bit, like that wages and professional technical services lines. Because, for example, a superintendent salary for Freeman is down in the professional technical line because he was paid as a consultant, not a employee. So little things like that sort of cancel each other out a bit. A big driver in that professional technical services line is, of course, Freeman, the superintendent search, sub-nurses, we racked up a little bit of a bill there. And then the other two areas where we're underwater, if you will, are pupil transportation, which is partially special education transportation and partly McKinney-Vento homeless student transportation. That went from 0 to 60 overnight, and unfortunately, it really kicked in the back half of this year, so it's not budgeted anywhere near at the right level in the coming year. But we'll be looking to see if we're eligible for any state grants around that, and clearly planning for it next year in the budget when we build it. And then, of course, the special ed out-of-district tuition.
What's, back in the 300 professional technical, it says outside evaluations, that's the specialist who comes in to evaluate a student, right? That we don't have on staff?
Usually we're sending them out for an evaluation if you've agreed to it at PPT.
Okay.
So they have like a psychiatric done or a psych done.
I
Okay.
think you're saying the same thing, though. The child may go to them, but yes, it's paying someone who's not our employee to do an
Okay.
evaluation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
And then I'm gonna jump to page 16.
Here's our title too.
Right, and this actually, my note on here that I wanted to draw your attention to is, you know, that IDA grants and the Title I grants, those go almost completely to wages. Title II, there's the 34,500 appropriation that I was mentioning. So we're watching all those. The big piece to draw your attention to is page 17.
Yep.
Oh, you know what? My pages, I'm so sorry, my page numbers may not be matching yours because the packet moved probably, but.
No, it's the same.
Is it matching?
Oh, it is
So I'm on the food service budget.
That's what I'm on.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So for food service budget, we started the year thinking that the Board of Ed would have to supplement the food service program $14,000. At last month, we thought it would be about, I think we were at like 29,000 when we looked at the board report, and now it's up to 72,000. We're looking at wages and supplies as the two big drivers there. And Nancy is working closely to figure out why we are trending so poorly. Obviously, part of it has to do with how much food you sell, but it also has to do with, how much is it a result of like staff absences, so you're paying staff who work for you and then also paying substitutes. But this needs some fixing for sure.
The prices for food goes up next year though, right? We voted to increase, but,
A little bit this year too, so.
okay.
We're trying to work both sides.
So where are we pulling the 72,000 from?
It's coming from the appropriated, and it's figured into the projection.
It's not coming from that 660, it's coming from the appropriated.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, it's actually part of the projection line, that it is the wages line in the appropriated budget.
Wages?
Yeah.
Okay, because it is wages and supplies.
Yes, yeah. I mean, those are the two areas.
Yeah.
So.
So that I understand, can we go to page 15? 15, back to 15, it's a summary of the operating budget. So we're, in the end, after all the magic, Nancy, our head is above water, $4,600. Okay, now, bills still come in after July 1, right?
Yes, and the projection is trying to anticipate all
Okay.
those.
Okay. And if we had anything left over, we'll put it in our 2%
You bet.
non-lapse, even if it's a penny.
We're gonna get it over 2,000.
Right, okay.
We're not gonna have a party?
It will be a very good party.
No.
Okay.
Okay,
Can we get to the good stuff?
sure.
Um,
Reading? Oh, wait, sorry.
Nope, so we're gonna go on to of the year.
Oh, right. Okay, item E, everybody. Item 7E, of the year recipient recognition. Thank you.
So I'll just provide a little context. We, this year, every year we participate in the Connecticut Teacher of the Year program. And basically to be selected as a state Teacher of the Year and then be considered for a nationwide Teacher of the Year, you have to meet certain criteria, which includes working with kids at least half of your position, you have to be tenured, stuff like that. And so we select a local Teacher of the Year with that criteria in mind so that our person can go on to the state level. Whether or not they're recognized at the state level, we participate. They oddly call it a banquet, but it's simply sitting in an auditorium for a beautiful ceremony. Maybe it was once a banquet, I don't know. But so we'll go to the state program with our Teacher of the Year. We also participate in the state's program for Paraeducator of the Year. And then we have a third category award called Staff Member of the Year. And we instituted that because we felt that while teachers and paras represent a lot of the people who work in our district, that there are also a lot of other people who work in our schools who don't meet the criteria for either of those two awards, from secretaries and behavior techs and speech and language and coaches and our custodians, and there are just so many other people that we said, well, we would want people to be able to nominate. And so our process was that we sent out to all staff the opportunity to make nominations. We had a committee that came together and reviewed all the nominations and made some really difficult choices. And tonight I am really pleased to present, I'll tell you our Para-Educator of the Year briefly, although she was not able to be here tonight. She had a event with her child, but she would have loved to be here. She's lovely. We have a para-educator, Heather Reynoso, who works up at the Gilbert School, and she is fabulous. So I'm just going to gush for a moment about our Staff Member of the Year and then finish with our Teacher of the Year. So the Staff Member of the Year that was selected is none other than Renee St. Hilaire. The nomination said, Renee has truly distinguished herself this year through her unwavering commitment, adaptability, and leadership. She has stepped into multiple roles with grace and purpose, always focusing on supporting students and staff and the broader mission of the Winchester Public Schools. As a stellar STEAM coach, Renee not only brings innovation and enthusiasm to her work, but she also consistently steps up to problem solve with clarity and a collaborative mindset. From organizing a successful STEAM night to attending every Board of Education and budget presentation, serving on the leadership and climate committees, and coaching colleagues across the district, she exemplifies what it means to be a dedicated and impactful staff member. Her positive influence on school culture and her tireless support of the district make her a truly deserving candidate for Staff Member of the Year. And I'll add that, as I'm sure you all remember, Renee stepped in this year and was acting principal when we needed support at Hinsdale School, and she did that so selflessly. There was a point where she declined the opportunity to advance her own career because she had committed to doing that. She has worn countless hats in our district. She's been an assistant principal, a library media teacher, a coach teacher. She just exemplifies professionalism and grace, and we are tickled pink that she's ours. I'm gonna hop up and please.
Well done.
I just want to say, thank you, Barb. Thank you, Dr. Luby, for those kind words and really, truly for all the opportunities. I have to give a special shout out to Barb because when I first came here in Winstead, she kept saying, and just wait, we have more. And I've really, truly loved every single minute of it. I've fallen in love with the Winstead schools, with the teachers, with the students, with all of the administration. There really isn't anything that I'm not willing to do because I'm humbled and honored by the work that people do here. And I just love being a part of it. So thank you for letting me have this opportunity and the recognition, which I'd also say I would like to dedicate that to my mom because my mom was the person who was the helper of all. And I only wish I could be half as kind as her.
Thank you, Renee.
Everybody know that Renee is quite a poker player. Found that out about her.
Although that wasn't the professional opportunity I was going to leave for, but maybe in my retirement I would like to go on the circuit, yes.
So she took you to the cleaners?
No, she told me about it.
Oh,
I was like, I will learn.
I'm gonna need to take some lessons because my kids decided we should play poker and they bought the chips and my son took all my money. So, 19-year-old, yeah. So finally, I'm so excited to share with you, and I'm so grateful that, Jenny, that you're here and that you waited. I feel badly that it got this late into the night, I'm sorry. Jenny Farrell, who is a second grade teacher at Hinsdale School, is our choice for Teacher of the Year and will go on to the state level. Her nominations said, though newer to the district, Jenny Farrell has quickly distinguished herself as an exemplary educator and team leader. Her thoughtful organization and unwavering commitment to meeting the diverse needs of her students, including some of the most challenging students and conditions, set her apart from day one. Jenny creates a classroom environment where every child feels seen, supported, and challenged. She is a reflective practitioner, always seeking new ways to grow and improve in order to better serve her students. Her dedication goes far beyond the classroom as well. As a Girls on the Run coach and an active contributor to the Hinsdale community, Jenny brings learning to life through engaging events and initiatives that involve families and neighbors alike. Her leadership, compassion, and ability to build meaningful relationships make a lasting and positive impact on both her students and the wider school community. We truly are proud to recognize Jenny Farrell as our Teacher of the Year. She is a shining example of dedication, innovation, and heart in education.
Congratulations, Jen.
And I want to tell you, when I went to see Jenny in her classroom and share the news with her, you should have just seen her students sort of like just started popcorning. Oh, what is this? And what did she do? And yet none of them really seemed surprised. Like they were a little nonplussed, like, yeah, of course she's the best. So we think you're awesome and we are really grateful to you.
I just want to say thank you. Coming here last year when I was looking for jobs, I saw a position for second grade. I was super excited. I was working with the older kids, but knew that I really wanted to teach early reading and math skills. And coming to Hinsdale, Rosie and the whole team have just been so welcoming. There's been a lot of challenges that have been in my classroom, but coming to see them and how far they've come has really just been a dream come true. So thank you to everyone.
Great.
Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, very good. And thank you for recognizing them and celebrating
Yes.
them. You had organized a program at AMP, and I think that was a great support group there of community members willing to participate in honoring our teachers in the district and the staff and the paras in our district. I think that was a great community event. Thanks for organizing and getting that done.
Nora's referring to the event I think I sent out to everyone. We did have, we celebrated at AMP, which turned out to be a great choice. I think unanimously we're thinking we'd do that again for sure. They were gracious hosts. It was a perfect venue. People were thrilled to see the mural. Many people hadn't seen it yet. And we had a wonderful turnout of staff from all around the district coming to celebrate their colleagues. The awards that we mentioned here tonight, and the retiree, and then also years of service awards for people who had been with us for 5 years, 10 years. We even had 2 staff members with 45 years of service to our school district. That's sticking power.
Says a lot.
It's a great list. Okay, item F, climate study.
So, as I got here in the fall, we were lifting up a conversation around school climate for a lot of reasons, not the least of which was the fact that there would be new legislation, new policy, new procedures going into effect for July 1, and in fact the policies are on tonight's agenda that will require us to shift some of our practices, obviously shift our policies, require of us some data collection, action plans. So it was really timely to take a good look at ourselves. There's a lot here, so I'm not gonna drag you through this on the spot. What I'm gonna do is suggest that you enjoy this, perhaps on a beach or something lovely. Much of this you've been hearing about because we've talked to you throughout the year about the study, but the first couple pages will give you strongly like what the process was, what we did, and then the findings are there by the 4 strands that we looked at, and then if you fast forward, there is a summary on page 12 into page 13 with next steps. And then at the very back, we've included what the questions were in each of the surveys. We will put the full report on our website, and we will probably extract maybe a very condensed version that we can get into just a couple paragraphs to send home to families and guide them towards the longer report on our website. And we'll be using this over the summer as we work on school climate work in the summer, as we develop committees in the fall at the school level, and as we develop our school climate plans. But it offers areas for improvement, it points out strengths. I could draw your attention to page 13, some next steps. Let me go backwards. Let me stay right there. So page 13, I'll say to you that we will be developing a plan. The next steps are really to create goals, and we'll be doing that based on the holistic look that we did, but also looking at individual statements within the surveys, some of those as indicators, and saying, why is that? And if we feel we know what it is, then we can just talk about how do we improve upon it, and if we don't, what do we need to do to understand it better?
Could we find like follow-up groups, what do you call that? Focus groups, you know?
Well, so we did some of that after the surveys came in. We did with parents and asked a lot of follow-up questions as an example.
Okay.
And then with the kids, we went in and did circle discussions with them, digging in further to some of the things that had come out as some themes. Some of the themes that came out that were interesting, the kids talked about the fact that they felt the adults were kind to kids, but that kids were not kind enough to each other, and that kids were not kind enough to the adults. That was an interesting fact for us, and so that was part of what we went in to try and understand what that looks like. So that's something we're working on. In talking to parents, we learned that by the time we talked to parents, which was well into the winter, I think they were feeling like they were getting information from the schools, you know, when things happened. The unfortunate things where we have to send those very obtuse emails that just say, something happened and we're fine. But they were wanting more information about their kids' day-to-day, the kinds of things, so they would know what to ask at the dinner table.
Like curriculum?
Yeah, and not necessarily like a curriculum overview or a curriculum night once a year, as much as like maybe a weekly or a unit preview or something that just gave parents, so they kind of know to say, hey, you've been learning about ecology, what's that all about? Or, you know, just little tidbits on how to be more engaged with what the kids are doing all day, every day. So that was helpful information for us. We know there are concerns across all the groups about behaviors. One thing that came out from the staff is that we can do a better job with professional learning and making sure that it meets people's needs. I guess that'd be a moot point if we have no money for it, but so those were some of the areas that we'll be targeting when we develop our plan. And again, when we go to develop plans, we'll create some goals and some specific objectives as digging back into the data, but this has sort of brought it back up to a level so that we have something to share. So I encourage you to enjoy this at your leisure, and
So we can put this on the agenda for our July retreat.
Absolutely.
Because I want to probe some more, like, for example, the staff piece of it all. That's interesting to me. And of
Yeah,
course, the
that was-
families, I mean, that's an important piece. We want to keep people on, we want to retain staff, you know. We've got this great list of people that have served this community for a number of years, but we need to bring in young people and keep young people as others retire on, so I think this is important.
yes, and I would say that across the three groups, the staff responses were the weakest. Not in terms of their responses or the size of the response, but in terms of their ratings.
Their consistency in their rating.
Yep.
Yeah. You know how we have this new policy coming up that has that talked about a coordinator for climate? And that seems like it's a new law. This came before that. Will we be asked to use a different tool to assess climate going forward, or can we use the same tool and compare year one to year two using the same doc?
So our intention is to use our same survey, although I think we may make modest improvements by adding a couple of questions where there were things that we thought, we didn't get enough on that.
Okay.
The legislation or the policy actually requires biennial surveying only every other year. Our group may decide we want to do one survey each year. So, and it is our intention to continue to use the same tools so that we can compare apples to apples and.
Yeah, yeah. I'd like to see the improvements in
Exactly.
staff,
We can see
for
the movement.
example. Yeah, yeah, very important. Okay. Anybody have any questions for Julie?
And I'll be sending this to our staff with a note saying you don't have to do anything with this, but we wanted you to have it in case you wanted it now. And again, we'll be dealing with it either in committee work over the summer or when folks get back in the fall. But it was a labor of love, and it's done.
Thank you for that. I know we've been talking about that for several iterations of the meetings throughout the year, so I think that's good for producing that. Okay, no other further questions? Okay, item G, ready?
Okay, so this is just really a quick initial analysis slash snapshot. We will do, obviously, a much more in-depth look at data when we come back in the fall. But, because the SBAC scores aren't available and fully analyzed yet, even at the state level, so we don't have like growth scores and things we want. But this is just a quick, down and dirty set of information. This is the same information that we shared with you mid-year out of iReady. And you'll see the top is reading, the bottom is math. The 3 columns on the left, and the reason I've brought you colors is because otherwise this is really hard to look at, but the green is kiddos that were on or above level, so beginning, middle, and end of the year. And the red is the percent of kids 2 or more below level, so that should be the dark red, or maybe the red and the dark red. Somebody with better eyes than me remind me. I'm sorry I didn't get to look at it again today. 2 or more levels below is the red, right? No, it's all of the red, light red, dark red. So you would want the green numbers to go up, you would want the red numbers to go down. And then I'll just explain median growth percent. So median growth percent, you would ideally want 100%, meaning that the kids made a year's growth in a year's time, basically, on average. So you can see the median growth in reading, you can see the median growth in math, and you can see the percent of students, and you can see the movement. I especially like it, for example, in the bottom line, if you look at kindergarten. Now, iReady in kindergarten, you look at that and you say, wow! But I will remind you that in kindergarten, like,
You mean the
it starts at
2261 to 81?
Right.
Right.
So,
I mean, that's huge growth. That's fantastic, right?
yes,
However,
but it doesn't carry forward quite the, like,
Yeah.
you can't expect that that 81% will be 81% in the fall. Like, the bar moves quickly
yeah.
in the little years, like, there's just, the expectation starts very low, and, you know, it gets obviously much harder as they go. But you
the
can
challenges get more intense, right?
Right. You can see where we are in reading. So going down that spring percent on level in reading, you see the percent of students, 81, going down 48, 47, 57. We typically, for our district, and correct me if I'm wrong, Barb and Rosie, but I would characterize us as being right around the 50% line lately of kids meeting goal in reading and math.
On iReady. Yeah.
On SBAC, I thought we were in
No.
the high 40s, no?
Low 40s.
Is more our typical? Okay.
Well, last year, yes, high 40s. This year, projected lower.
Right. So, one of the things I'll draw your attention to is you can see some of the grades look like where you'd want them to be. Interestingly, the grades 5 and 6 are strong in reading on here
Yep.
and super
Yep.
strong in math.
Yep.
Um,
Fourth grade is, you know how you're tracking a group of kids from
Yeah.
COVID?
So so our current third grade is our grade level that has 5 sections. They are the kiddos who would have been 3, I think, like the young preschool age at COVID. And the 4th grade were probably about 4 years old at COVID and also preschool aged. I would consider the current 3rd and 4th grade groups to be probably the most at-risk grade levels and the most academically impacted by COVID.
Yep.
Those years when kids are typically going to daycares and preschools and
Yep.
singing alphabet songs and,
Holding a book. I remember we were
Yeah.
talking about how that got cut when we shut down in March. Like they were just learning how to hold a book or something at that point.
so those are the groups. And interestingly, I think the 3rd grade is large and the 4th grade is small because I think people held their kids out that year because coming back was questionable in people's minds. So we have some factors going on there that we're looking at and trying to figure out, like, just doing what we always do probably isn't gonna change their trajectory, so we really need to be thoughtful around what could we do more or differently to try to lift those 2 groups up.
You also examined the maximum number of not maximum, the ideal number of hours a teacher should be spending on iReady prep work materials, right? Because it sort of, you know, how often a teacher works with a kid online with this software, and there's like that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Right?
So, and iReady is just one piece. I mean, the iReady assessment isn't just assessing iReady, it's assessing reading and math generally. The work that the kids do, in fact, some districts just use the assessment and don't use the iReady pathways. But what we do like about that is that when you take the assessment, it creates pathways that are personalized to your individual needs.
Yep.
And there is a sweet spot, is exactly what they'll describe, of roughly 45 minutes per subject, reading and math, so roughly 10 minutes a day. So if kids were doing 20 minutes a day of iReady, 10 reading and 10 math, they would say that's where you're gonna see your optimum growth. But you also have to factor into that the growth we're seeing isn't caused specifically by iReady.
Right.
It's caused by instruction.
Sure.
So that's a piece of the
Okay.
puzzle, but
Okay.
it's,
But we have a finger on that piece.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
And again, this is something, especially when we have the SBAC to layer into it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when we have our leadership retreat this summer, we'll probably spend one full day just digging into data and trying to look at the global level, at the grade level, at the individual class level, and try and understand if we see any patterns looking back at previous years, and really try and figure out what we can that will give us good information to be planful going into next year.
Do you guys have your date set yet as admin?
So we have a week reserved,
The 28th.
it's the last week of July.
Okay.
Yeah, it sort of rolls right into the beginning of August.
So then we would meet before you would meet as administrators. Our board retreat will be before yours.
Probably.
Okay.
Your options were either sort of right before or right after.
Yeah. Okay.
But this will be something we do a deep dive into, and
Yeah.
we'll be able to talk a lot more about, probably like a curriculum committee when it meets. I don't know if it meets in August or September, but when it does.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Okay. All right. Thank you for that information. Item 8, action items. Policies for second read. Policy school security and safety. Okay. This policy was, well, obviously this is the second time we're looking at this. It was discussion about not just school security, but visitors that would come into this community. and not just Federal Immigration Authority members, that's the third paragraph. This is from Shipman and Goodman, but just generally, what is the process and procedure for visitors in general? So, as you can read on page 19, name, badge, asking for a warrant, if it warrants a warrant, review of that warrant, consult with legal counsel, and speak to the administrators, like the protocol, if anybody were to come to the school. But visitors as well need to provide their name, their badge, and their information to the school. Okay? Anybody have any questions about school security and safety? Okay, I'll take a motion to adopt.
I'll make a motion to adopt school security and safety policy.
Okay, thank you. Second?
I'll second the motion.
Jonathan, any discussion? Okay, all in favor of school security and safety? Say that 10 times fast. Thank you, everybody. 5-0. Lenice, you okay? Okay, that's A1. Item 2, visitors, observers, agency in schools. Okay, kin to the first. Speaks to, again, visitors, observers. Of course, I would imagine observers would need permission to observe if they wanted to observe, because it spoke about coming into classrooms and that sort of thing. Receiving prior approval for visitors specifically. And then adherence to the guidance of the public schools pertaining to immigration activities developed by the State Department of Education, working with Department of Homeland Security, Immigration and Nationality Act, that's on page 22. Again, it's a shipment policy, so I would say it's more or less boilerplate. Does anybody have any questions for that? Okay, do I have a motion for adoption?
I'll make a motion to adopt the policy regarding visitors, observers, and agency officials in schools.
Thank you, Jeanette. Second?
A second.
Thank you, Kurt. Any further discussion on visitors, observers, and agency officials? Okay, all in favor? Okay, 5-0. Item 3, Connecticut School Climate Policy. This has already been mentioned. As discussed, the state of Connecticut has asked for a school climate improvement process. I think the survey that we just went through would be part of that. It defines certain terms for school climate, which I think was helpful. Bullying, cyberbullying, I think that's kind of clear. I did have one question. Who would be the climate coordinator that's mentioned on page 27, or do we already have one?
So climate coordinator would be myself or a designee. And then the schools have, I don't have the terminology in front of me, but there's a district person, which is me or a designee, and then the schools have their person, which is the principals or their designee.
Okay.
And I'll just mention, the policy was written by CABE at the request of the state, and there is nothing about it that is optional or malleable. In fact, it was provided only in PDF.
Okay.
So, like, we have literally no say about any aspect of it.
It is what it is. So they use two different terms, 27 and 28. Under school climate coordinator roles and responsibilities, that's school climate coordinator, which you said would be
School climate coordinator is gonna be.
you, and then the designated principals. But then there's the school climate specialist on page 28. Oh, you guys, the principals and the specialists. Roger that. Okay. So we don't need a new hire, unfunded, well, there's no funds here, but
Just another hat.
it's just another hat to add on to your hats. Got you. I mean, we were doing it anyway. I just didn't realize it's a designated person per se. Certified person. And a committee, so just so y'all know, on the board, page 28 speaks about a committee that would be formulated with families and 2 members from the school community. They would meet biannually, but I like the idea of annually for this new instrument, if you will. But that's just me. Okay, and training and the like. Training, the grant money, something disappear.
Exactly.
Okay, training without Title II. Okay, do I have a motion to accept what is more or less the policy that we have to accept? Without
I'll
any
make a motion
edits?
to accept the policy we have to
Thank you,
accept.
Renee.
I will second the vote.
Thank you, Jonathan. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? 5-0. Okay. Item 4 is restorative practices. Okay, let me see, page, it's buried in here. Here we go. Page 32, restorative practices. Again, it speaks to definitions inside the process of restorative practices inside the classroom, inside the school, and the community. This too, is this CABE? I didn't see shipment at the bottom of this out of curiosity. It's really just curious. It looks like it's attached to the climate, you know, as a, not an addendum, but like a continuation. They're both the 5,000 series. Reads sort of and looks the same as the previous policy. But once again, anybody have any questions about the policy, which is new? It's new to us, so, I mean, it's short. I would recommend implementation. Do I have a motion to implement?
I'll make a motion to implement the restorative practice response policy.
Okay, thank you, Jeanette. Second? I'll second. Further discussion on item 4. I would think we do this anyway, right?
Yes, there's nothing really radical
Nothing
about
new.
it, and it's part of the previous policy.
Yeah, okay. All right. All right, all ready to vote? All in favor? Okay, 5-0. Thank you, everyone. That takes care of the 4 policies. And then finally, item B, sole source bid waiver for Ed Advanced Child Nutrition Program Services.
Nancy has with her original for you to sign, assuming you're willing to do so. Ed Advance is currently managing our school lunch program for us. They are willing to continue. We would like them to. Because of our size, it's not like we're likely to attract like the Marriott and Sodexos of the world. So it's kind of do it ourselves or use Ed Advance, or seem to be the options that are available to us and what we do anyway, but I felt it was better to officially do a bid waiver sole source form rather than make the assumption that we would, I mean, it's what we're doing now and we recommend that we continue. But if we do that, we thought it prudent to do the sole source form, just
To make sure we're okay.
dot the i's and cross the t's.
Out of curiosity, is Gilbert using Ed Advance?
Yep.
Okay.
In fact, we begged them to, as part of the budget process, we called and said, pretty please, can we pay you less since you have us? Can you think of us
Both
as
of us?
one? Didn't get anywhere,
They said
but
no? Okay,
shocker.
okay. Kind of like CABE, we had a conversation. Okay. All right, we need to make a motion to adopt the bid waiver, the sole source form, rather, for Ed Advance, okay? For the Child Nutrition Program Services. So, do I have a motion to accept the sole source bid waiver, to sign off on it? Directing me to sign off on it.
I'll make a motion to accept the sole source bid waiver and have Nora, the chairperson, sign off on it.
Thank you, Renee.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Jeanette. All in favor? Okay, 5-0 on that item. Thank you, everyone. Finally, item C, the nurse's new contract.
Okay, so, as Nancy does, she's prepared a highlight sheet, and I'm gonna just point out a few things, about this. I'll remind you, for starters, that we have only 2 school nurses, so our decision-making here is influenced by the, if we had 40 school nurses, everything we do has extraordinary impact, but because we have 2, the dollars aren't huge, because there are only 2. So one of the things going into negotiations that we did was do a little reconnaissance and research on what the starting rate for a nurse is in the world. Not in the world, but in our corner of the world. And I can tell you, just as a point of reference, that my own child, who graduated a month ago and has not yet passed the test, already has a job lined up for $39 an hour. Our starting rate was $36 an hour. She literally isn't even a nurse yet. They're gonna pay her $39 an hour, waiting for her to take and pass the test. So we felt it was important, since we were in a moment of needing to hire, that we increased our start rate enough to be able to hire someone, because why would anybody take a job that much less, $3 less than the going rate? So we didn't go all the way there, but we did increase the rate, which was $36.21, up to $38 for new hires. And because we have a nurse going into at least year, I think, 3 with us, 4, who's fabulous and taking the lead role, we knew we couldn't pay her the same as someone starting new. So we created 2 tiers, people new to us and people who are now not new to us any longer. So there is that first year of the contract that says 7.7, it is that, but what you're seeing is a market correction to get us to a starting rate that we would be able to hire. And then you'll see more normalized years after that at 2.6% in each of those 2 years. We added 1 more work day because the nurses do need to come in. For example, the Hinsdale nurse has a lot of work to do before school starts in making sure that our kindergartners have all the things they need to be able to start school. The nurse at Pearson has to take all of the files that come up from Hinsdale and make sure she's aware of all the things in those files. And then at the end of the year, they've got to get the files ready to go to the next school, clean out the office, return all the meds. So there's a lot of stuff to really do. One of the things that was important to us to do, they had a child rearing leave part of their contract that said they could stay out like the whole rest of the year if they had a child after, I think it was like October 1st. Subs cost, Nancy, what's a sub nurse cost a day? Was it $400 or?
It was close to 3.
So we saw that as really untenable, so we dropped that from the 90 days or the rest of the year just down to 45 days. Not because we don't want people to have kids, but we want to be able to not be paying nurses for extended periods of time, sub-nurses, I mean. And we did create like a head nurse position because we realized we were missing a lot of procedural stuff. We didn't have like something you give a nurse when they start that says, here's our policies, here's our procedures, this is how you do that, this is how you do the other. So we thought it was important to get more organized in that way. So Jessica at Pearson School has been doing a lot of that work, and she provided orientation for our new nurse, Francesca, at Hinsdale, who is on the job and doing a great job. And then we did other little things in there, like with the grievance process, just cleaning up the number of days and defining calendar days versus school days. We increased their cost share of their insurance, working towards, in fact, this will be one of the first groups. We're getting to that magic number. We're trying to get all the groups to 20% contribution. And we did agree, because it is market practice, that we would pay every 2 years for them to update their CPR certification that they're required to have for the job. And similarly, that we would reimburse them for keeping their license current.
That's a one-time thing, the license current piece, or every
I
time
think
they re-up?
Yeah,
It's like, that's, how often?
I think that one is annual.
Yearly?
And our hope is that we're still, I'll say like on the bottom end of financial packages, if you will, but at least we can fit on the same page. Maybe with other places, our hopes are to have these two people love what they do enough that this is just enough to keep them with us so that we don't have that turnover and end up having to pay subs and having a good nurse is really important, as we see on a regular basis when kids fall off of jungle gyms and things.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Okay. All right, so you need a motion for this?
I need a motion from you all to accept the revised nurses contract. It's a 3-year contract between the Winchester Board of Education and our nurses, and we would have, you make a motion to accept it, and then we would sign it. I think they've already ratified it, so we would sign off and have it in place.
How much is the yearly license renewal?
I don't recall, but I think it's around $200.
And the CPR?
110.
Today.
110.
And-
CPR is less.
40?
About
Yeah.
100, she said.
Okay. All right, just
So
get an
not a
idea.
huge driver
Sure.
financially, but that's more of a commitment, right?
Right.
It's more of a statement than a.
Okay. I'll take a motion to accept the new 3-year contract, July 1, 2025 to June 30, 2028. Who'd like to first?
I'll make a motion to accept the revised 3-year nursing contract.
Thank you, Jeanette. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Thank you, 5-0. Thank you for that. Thank you, Julie, and negotiators, and Nancy. Okay, that was item C. Item 9, public comment. As you know, we welcome public comment, that's part of our policy, and the board chair will direct Dr. Luby to respond to any persons. Please sign in if you're interested in speaking. Anybody wishing to speak? Anybody wishing to speak? Anybody wishing to speak? Seeing none, item 10, future agenda items for board members, or any other comments? Okay, seeing none. Item 11, adjournment at 8:48. Do I have a first?
First, I'll make a motion.
Jonathan, thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kurt. All in favor? 5-0. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time tonight and the rescheduled day. Really appreciate it.